Welcome to the Real Boardloft. I'm Forman, and this is the Christenson Long Phish. This is a new board from Christenson. This board that I'm holding here is the 610 Long Phish, and this is my own board. I had a bunch of really fun sessions here in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, and then also got to take it on a trip to Puerto Rico. That we went down there for about 5 days and caught a really fun swell. So excited to share the experiences that we had on this board. So when I say 610 Phish, you immediately think of a giant board that you think of like a 5.6 Phish scaled up to a 610, and like how wide and thick and just gigantic that board would be. And a lot of people in their head are thinking, okay, well, a 610 Phish, that's like a step down for somebody that normally rides like a 9.6 or 10-foot longboard and is dreaming of riding a shortboard. This board is not that board. This board came from professional surfers who were looking for a feel similar to a shorter Phish, but stretched out in length, but not giant in volume. So they wanted more rail line and more drive and more speed, but they didn't want the hindrance of having like a gigantic amount of volume on the board. So in talking with the guys at Christenson, the original Long Phish actually came from Derek Hind and also Skip Fry. Skip Fry obviously designing and shaping the board, and Derek Hind riding them, and it ended up being one of his favorite boards to ride at a place like J Bay. So you think about J Bay just absolutely hauling ass down the line, you know, one of the waves of your life, and you're obviously not going to ride like a big, gigantic overfoam Phish on a wave like that. So that, I think, begins to help you understand this board, as it came more from the performance side rather than from the accessibility and from the floatiness side of the spectrum. So taking a look at this board, the number one thing that you see in this board, other than just the drop dead gorgeous outline and kind of foam flow of a Christenson, is that when you put it under your arm, it's relatively thin throughout. So this board, just to give you dimensions on the board I was riding, is 6'10", 21, looks like in 3/4 and 2 3/4. To give you rough dimensions on my Nautilus, because we get a lot of questions like, what's the difference between this and the Nautilus? My Nautilus is 6'10", 21 1/4 by 3. So this is thinner than my Nautilus, and it's also really noticeably pulled down on the rail. If you look about from here on the rail line, I'll just tilt this towards the camera. If you look about here down, it really pulls down on the rail. So about from where my thumbs are right here out, it gets noticeably thinner on the rails. And what that helps the board to do is it's got a really good combination of planing area and power area, like the push up on your feet when you need it, you know, for gliding across flat spots and for generating speed. But that thin rail really engages in the waves super easily. So if you're riding it in bigger waves, steep drops, or like waves where you gotta stay high on the wave to make sections, like when you drop in, you gotta drop in and immediately turn and get going down the line. Like I saw a bunch of waves that got missed by people where they went to the bottom of the wave and then the wave sectioned out. Where this board, with how thin the rail is, you can immediately hook up on the top of the wave and get going down the line and not miss that section. So that was like a couple things that I really noticed, is just the ability to glide the flat spots and to ride it in relatively junky surf, but also to use it in pumping surf as well. I think our trip to Puerto Rico was really telling in what you could ride it in. Like we showed up and the swell was late getting there. So when we got there, it was pretty soft, like kind of waist to stomach high and not really organized, just kind of like kind of day. And it worked really well in that. And the peak of the swell was about 10 to 12 foot faces, and just like literally perfect, like just 10 to 12 foot faces, oil glass, super, super fun. And this thing just owned the whole way through. It was super. It basically had the keys to it was like a giant janitor key ring of keys. It had the keys to like basically every single situation that was out there. So really, really enjoyed it. Other questions that we get about this board are the bottom shape. Just like the Christenson Phish, the shorter versions, there is a noticeable concave running between the fins right through here. So if you look at like where my hand is going, the concave is actually right here, and you can actually see a ridge right here and a ridge right here. So it's relatively flat, but then there's a concave stuck down inside, straight down the middle. You go up to the front, it's flat here, and then it's got actually a bit of roll up here in the nose from side to side. So this is gonna help break the chop, get the board into the water, help it initiate turns, and then the amount of speed that you can generate with the concave back here is noticeable. I mean, we just had an absolute blast in in a really wide range of conditions, and it was a lot of fun. The thing that impressed me the most about this board is one was the range, like the type of waves you can use it in. It worked, like I said, it worked in the small stuff, it worked in the bigger stuff. The amount of speed that the board could generate was just crazy. Like we're using the Rip Curl GPS watch on it. We had like a bunch of waves that were, you know, way above 20. We had a bunch of waves that we were able, like at a break that we surf a lot, we were able to connect sections, like to make parts of the wave we've never made before, like getting like 400-yard long rides on this thing, and just having a blast on it. And those thin rails, I think, really, really help. It's accessible, but performance at the same time. We use the Christenson keels by Captain Fin Company, and these are the solid fiberglass limited edition ones. And then there's also a honeycomb version with the future boxes. That's what we recommend for this board. Be careful when you're getting fins, because Christenson also makes a reduced area, more high aspect twin. That's not the fin you want to use on this board. You can play around with an experiment, but I think the go-to fin is more this keel style fin, and they're really subtle differences. That fin is like more white in color, where this one's black, or the honeycomb ones are like a gray smoke with some red in them. So you want to go more with the swept-back keel fin. And yeah, just an awesome all-around board. The Long Phish from Christenson. Other things you can check out in this board is that Chris is using the wedge stringer. It's a cedar stringer. You can see it's a little bit wider up front, and it tapers down to almost nothing in the tail. And you know, lengthwise, they're making these, just to get your head around like the size range on this board, is that they're making it stock from about 6'6" up to about 8'0". And again, you know, all of those are gonna have a similar outline to this. And again, like kind of addressing that question with the Nautilus is a little bit narrower in the front and the back, and also in the middle. So it ends up being like a little bit more outline curve. This board is a little bit more parallel in outline, like more like a standard fish, and more drivey down the line, where the Nautilus is a little bit more straight up, straight down. This board's a little bit more drivey down the line and speed oriented. It's the Long Phish from Christenson. Super fun board. I would definitely recommend this for somebody looking at it. You'll have an absolute blast on it. By the end of the first day, I was in love with it. So definitely check it out. A great all-around board from Christenson. And you know, and somebody else said, well, hey, how's it different than a regular fish? You know, if you took like a 5'8" regular fish and blew it up to 6'10", it would be a really big board. Like it would be on the verge of a stand-up paddle board. But this allows you to get that friction-free twin fin, like flying down the line feel without having too much volume. So it actually combines like that twin fin feel with a like a mid-length rail line and drive, like the amount of drive and power that you get out of the rail of a mid-length. It's the Christenson Long Phish. If you got any questions on these, or you want to place an order for one, you can always give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000, or you can look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.